South Florida still looks like paradise. Glass towers glowing over Biscayne Bay, luxury condos lining Fort Lauderdale's waterways, and palm-shaded streets in Coral Gables that feel untouched by crisis. But behind that postcard image, something far more serious is building. The signs are subtle at first. Homes sitting longer, insurance renewals doubling, condo boards issuing warnings they once tried to avoid. Then the numbers start to shift, and suddenly the illusion cracks. This isn't a slowdown. It's the early formation of a collapse, one that analysts warn could make 2008 look orderly by comparison. Insurers are abandoning entire zip codes. Banks are quietly tightening lending. And in our #1 city, even the wealthy are discovering that no amount of money can shield them from what's coming in 2026. Hit subscribe to uncover the cities, because today we're revealing the 10 South Florida cities, showing the earliest and clearest signs of a housing market unraveling. Let's begin with number 10. Number 10, Deerfield Beach. Deerfield Beach stretches along Broward County's northern coast, where suburban neighborhoods meet pristine beaches and families found affordable coastal living without Miami's price tags. For decades, this represented accessible Florida paradise. But heading into 2026, Deerfield Beach is experiencing an affordability crisis that's pricing out the very families who built this community. According to local market data, median home prices climbed from approximately $340,000 in 2020 to around $485,000 by late 2023, a surge of roughly 43% in 3 years. Census data shows median household income grew maybe 12 to 15% over the same period. That widening gap between wages and home prices is creating the first crack in South Florida's housing foundation. Insurance costs are accelerating the squeeze. Local insurance agents report homeowners now paying an estimated $6,500 to $8,500 annually for standard coverage, with flood insurance adding another $2,000 to $3,000 for properties in designated zones. For families earning Broward County's median income of approximately $70,000, that insurance alone consumes 10 to 15% of gross income before any mortgage payment. Consider a typical family who bought a $450,000 home in 2022 with 10% down. Their 6.5% mortgage costs roughly $2,550 monthly. Add insurance, $625 monthly. Property taxes, $583 monthly. HOA fees, $150. Total monthly housing cost, $3,908. On a combined income of $95,000, they're spending 49% of gross income on housing, far beyond the 28 to 30% financial advisors recommend. Heading into 2026, Deerfield Beach faces a critical question: who can still afford to buy here? Industry analysts note that first-time buyers are effectively priced out. Young families are relocating to cheaper markets. Essential workers increasingly commute from distant suburbs because Deerfield Beach itself has become unaffordable. If you think this is alarming, our 9th city shows what happens when ambitious development meets an unforgiving market reality. Number 9, Pompano Beach. Pompano Beach positioned itself as Broward County's next hot market, with ambitious redevelopment plans transforming once modest neighborhoods into modern mixed-use districts. But heading into 2026, those development dreams are stalling as market fundamentals shift beneath carefully crafted projections. New condo towers rose along the beach, with units marketed at $450,000 to $850,000, depending on size and views according to developer listings. The pitch was compelling: Pompano Beach luxury at prices below Fort Lauderdale. Developers anticipated strong absorption, as buyers priced out of nearby markets would flock here. Reality is proving far less cooperative. Local real estate professionals report that many new developments are experiencing weak sales, with numerous units sitting unsold months after completion. Some condo buildings delivered in 2023 to 2024 still have 20 to 30% of units on the market, according to property management sources, forcing developers to offer increasingly aggressive incentives. Price reductions of $50,000 to $75,000 from original asking prices. The insurance crisis hits new construction particularly hard. Buyers discover that even brand new buildings face insurance premiums of $6,000 to $9,000 annually because of coastal location, according to insurance quotes. When considering a $550,000 condo with $8,000 annual insurance, $8,500 in property taxes and assessments, plus $700 monthly HOA fee, total carrying cost approaches $4,300 monthly. That requires household income exceeding $150,000, far above what Census data shows most potential buyers earn. Flooding concerns add another layer of hesitation. Despite improved drainage infrastructure, king tides and heavy rainfall still flood some Pompano streets according to city maintenance records. Buyers researching climate risk and flood zone designations are increasingly cautious about long-term value. When buyer psychology shifts from opportunity to risk, even discounted properties struggle to find buyers. Heading into 2026, if these new buildings can't achieve healthy absorption rates and maintain values, it signals the market has fundamentally shifted. Overbuilding in a weakening market creates conditions for cascading price declines. But new construction struggles pale beside the luxury market stress in our eighth city. Number 8. Aventura. Aventura rises from northeast Miami-Dade County, where luxury high-rise condos tower above Biscayne Bay. This planned community became synonymous with international wealth. South American buyers, European investors, Canadian snowbirds, all parking millions in Aventura's gleaming towers. But heading into 2026, the foreign capital that drove Aventura's luxury market is retreating. Local MLS data shows Aventura condos that traded hands for $650,000 to $900,000 in 2022 are now sitting on the market for extended periods, with some eventually selling 12 to 18% below asking price. The luxury rental market shows similar stress according to property management reports. Units that commanded $4,500 to $6,000 monthly now struggle to find tenants at $3,800 to $4,500. International buyers are reassessing Florida's risk-reward equation. Insurance costs that were manageable in 2020 have become significant expenses affecting investment returns. HOA fees in Aventura's luxury towers range from $800 to $1,400 monthly, according to building financial statements, with some buildings implementing special assessments of $15,000 to $40,000 per unit for required structural inspections following post-Surfside protocols. For foreign investors who purchased Aventura condos as vacation homes or rental investments, the mathematics have deteriorated sharply. A typical investor who bought a $750,000 unit in 2021 now faces annual carrying costs that industry analysts estimate at roughly $45,000 to $51,000. Insurance, property taxes, HOA fees, property management, before any mortgage payment. If renting at $4,200 monthly generates $50,400 annual income, the investor barely breaks even. Market observers note that many international investors are concluding that Florida's changing cost structure makes it a poor investment compared to alternatives. When they sell, they add inventory to an already oversupplied luxury market. Falling values make remaining owners more anxious to exit, which adds more inventory, which further depresses prices. Heading into 2026, Aventura's luxury market faces a liquidity crisis as sellers outnumber buyers and price discovery moves steadily downward. Even established wealthy communities aren't immune, as our seventh city proves. Number 7, Coral Gables. Coral Gables has epitomized South Florida elegance for a century. Tree-lined boulevards, Mediterranean revival architecture, strict zoning that preserved community character. This is where doctors, lawyers, successful entrepreneurs built generational wealth through real estate. But heading into 2026, even Coral Gables is showing cracks that reveal how deeply the insurance crisis penetrates Florida's housing market. The sticker shock hitting Coral Gables homeowners is particularly jarring because many believed their zip codes bought protection. Properties valued at $1.2 million to $3 million are seeing insurance premiums that would have seemed impossible 3 years ago. Local insurance agents report premiums of $15,000 to $25,000 annually becoming standard for homes in this price range, with some properties exceeding $30,000 depending on age and construction type. For a family living in a $1.8 million Coral Gables home, the annual costs are staggering, even with substantial income. County property tax records show such properties generate tax bills of approximately $27,000 annually. insurance might cost $20,000. If there's still a mortgage, say $900,000 at 7%, that's roughly $72,000 annually. Add $8,000 for maintenance reserves. Total annual housing cost, $127,000. That requires household income exceeding $385,000 just to maintain traditional 33% housing to income ratios. The insurance crisis is forcing difficult decisions even among the wealthy. Real estate professionals report that some longtime residents are selling homes they've owned for decades because they're retired on fixed incomes that can't absorb insurance. That's tripled. Others are dramatically increasing deductibles to $25,000 or $50,000 to reduce premiums, accepting more personal financial risk. Property values in Coral Gables are holding better than many South Florida markets, according to MLS data, but transaction volumes are declining notably. Homes that would have sold within 30 to 45 days now sit for 90 to 120 days in some cases. Sellers are discovering that the pool of buyers who can afford both the purchase price and the carrying costs is smaller than expected. Heading into 2026, Coral Gables represents a critical test. If insurance costs can destabilize even elite markets with wealthy buyers, what hope do middle-class communities have? Our sixth city shows the next level of crisis. Number 6, Hollywood. Hollywood straddles the line between Fort Lauderdale and Miami, where a classic boardwalk meets residential neighborhoods. This Broward County city offered affordable beach access and a slower pace than Miami's intensity. But heading into 2026, Hollywood faces an uncomfortable reckoning with storm surge vulnerability that's driving population exodus documented in census estimates. The city's geography creates specific risks that insurance companies understand better than many homeowners. Large sections of Hollywood sit at low elevation according to topographic data, with drainage systems that struggle during heavy rainfall. When storm surge modeling from NOAA accounts for sea level rise and hurricane intensity trends, Hollywood appears in high-risk zones on maps that insurers use to price policies. Insurance outcomes reflect that risk assessment. Homeowners in Hollywood's coastal zones report premiums climbing to $8,000 to $12,000 annually for standard coverage according to renewal notices, with some properties near the intracoastal seeing quotes above $15,000. Flood insurance requirements add another $3,000 to $5,000. For homes valued at $450,000 to $650,000, insurance costs are consuming 2.5 to 3.5% of property value annually. Population trends confirm residents are making hard choices. Census estimates suggest Hollywood has experienced modest population decline in recent years, with particularly notable outmigration among families with children, exactly the demographic that typically provides housing market stability. When young families leave, they're often replaced by retirees, if anyone replaces them at all. Infrastructure challenges add to the insurance crisis. Hollywood's roads, stormwater systems, and utilities show their age, according to city infrastructure assessments, requiring expensive upgrades that the shrinking tax base struggles to fund. Property taxes have increased for many homeowners not because of rising values, but because the city needs revenue to address deferred maintenance. Residents feel squeezed from multiple directions: insurance rising, taxes increasing, home values stagnating or declining. The rental market reflects similar stress. Landlords facing higher insurance and property taxes are raising rents aggressively. But rental market data shows Hollywood's rental market has limits. When tenants can rent in nearby communities for similar prices without the flood risk, Hollywood landlords struggle to maintain occupancy. Properties sit vacant longer between tenants, creating cash flow problems that force some small investors to sell. Heading into 2026, Hollywood represents a tipping point where climate risk, insurance costs, and demographic shifts combine to create genuine market distress. Our fifth city reveals the full insurance market retreat. Number 5, Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale built its identity on waterways, the Venice of America, with canals winding through neighborhoods where boats dock behind homes. But heading into 2026, those same waterways that made Fort Lauderdale desirable are making it nearly uninsurable, creating a crisis that's spreading from waterfront properties into the entire market, according to insurance industry reports. The insurance market collapse in Fort Lauderdale is reaching critical mass. Multiple major carriers have either stopped writing new policies or refused to renew existing ones in specific zip codes, according to Florida Office of Insurance Regulation filings. Homeowners across the city report receiving non-renewal notices, forcing them to scramble for coverage from smaller, more expensive carriers, or ultimately Citizens Property Insurance. Premium increases of 75 to 120% between 2022 and 2024 have become common stories reported by local insurance agents. What makes Fort Lauderdale's situation particularly severe is how quickly the insurance crisis is spreading inland from obvious flood zones. Properties a mile from the intracoastal that never flooded are seeing massive premium increases because actuarial models account for hurricane wind damage across entire regions. The insurance industry isn't just pricing specific properties anymore, according to industry analysts. They're pricing their exposure to South Florida as a whole. The market impact is creating what local real estate professionals describe as ghost listings, properties that sit on the market for 180 plus days with minimal showings because potential buyers can't find affordable insurance. MLS data shows a home listed at $725,000 might seem reasonably priced, but when buyers discover insurance will cost $13,000 to $16,000. Annually, according to quotes they obtain, most walk away. Sellers drop prices to $685,000, then $650,000, watching their equity evaporate while still receiving no viable offers. Waterfront properties face the worst conditions. Homes with direct canal or intracoastal access that were premium properties now struggle to find any buyers, according to waterfront real estate specialists. Insurance quotes of $20,000 to $35,000 annually make them affordable only to wealthy buyers who can pay cash and self-insure. Properties that took 45 to 60 days to sell in 2021 now sit for 250 plus days according to market time data. Commercial real estate adds another troubling dimension. Downtown office towers show increasing vacancy as companies downsize, according to commercial brokerage reports. Retail spaces along Las Olas Boulevard feature more for-lease signs than a thriving downtown should display. Heading into 2026, Fort Lauderdale represents a market where insurance availability, not just cost, is determining who can buy, sell, or maintain homeownership. Number 4, Boca Raton. Boca Raton symbolized successful retirement for generations of affluent Americans, golf communities, high-rise condos overlooking the Atlantic, cultural amenities that made aging comfortable. Retirees who built wealth through careers up north, cashed out expensive homes, and relocated to Boca's sunshine. But heading into 2026, even affluent retirees are discovering that Boca Raton's carrying costs have risen beyond what fixed incomes can sustain. The condo crisis hits Boca Raton with particular intensity because so many buildings date from the 1970s to 1980s construction boom. Post-Surfside inspection requirements are revealing structural issues that associations deferred for decades. Local property managers report special assessments in Boca Raton condo buildings now routinely reaching $75,000 to $150,000 per unit, with some buildings assessing even higher amounts for comprehensive structural repairs. Picture a retiree couple who bought their Boca condo in 2015 for $425,000, paying cash after selling their New Jersey home. They planned carefully. No mortgage payment meant their $6,800 monthly income from Social Security and pension would fund comfortable retirement. Their condo fee started at $720 monthly. Property taxes were $6,400 annually. Insurance cost $4,200. Total monthly housing cost, roughly $1,670, manageable on their fixed income. Fast forward to 2024, heading into 2026. Their condo fee has climbed to $1,180 monthly as insurance and maintenance costs surged. Property taxes increased to $7,100 annually. Insurance renewal came back at $9,600 annually. Suddenly, their monthly housing cost is $2,572 before any special assessments. Then arrives the notice. $118,000 special assessment due for building repairs, payable immediately or financed at 8.5% over 7 years. If financed, that adds another $1,850 monthly. Total housing cost, $4,422 monthly, 65% of their gross income. They face impossible choices: tap retirement savings to pay the assessment, devastating their financial security, finance it and watch housing costs consume nearly all income, or sell and leave Florida. When they explore selling, MLS data shows similar units in their building listed for $380,000 to $395,000, $30,000 to $45,000 less than they paid 9 years ago. After accounting for selling costs and the special assessment, they might net $280,000 to $300,000. Their retirement planning is destroyed. This scenario is playing out across dozens of Boca Raton buildings simultaneously, according to local real estate professionals. The resulting inventory flood of retirees trying to escape untenable carrying costs is overwhelming buyer demand. Units that took 60 days to sell now sit for 200+ days, with many retirees eventually accepting prices $50,000 to $80,000 below what they hoped. Heading into 2026, Boca Raton's crisis reveals a brutal truth. Even affluent retirees who planned responsibly can't overcome insurance catastrophe and infrastructure failure. Our third city shows the clearest data behind the downturn. Number 3, West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach sits at the northern anchor of South Florida's crisis zone, where Palm Beach County's market dynamics offer the clearest quantifiable evidence of the housing downturn accelerating into 2026. While other cities show anecdotal stress, West Palm Beach provides hard data that confirms what many still deny. Zillow and Redfin data show West Palm Beach median home prices peaked around $485,000 in mid-2023 before softening to approximately $445,000 to $455,000 by late 2024, representing a decline of roughly 6 to 8% depending on specific neighborhood. More troubling than the price decline is the velocity of change. Homes that appreciated 45% in 3 years are now giving back gains at accelerating rates. When appreciation reverses this quickly, according to housing market analysts, it indicates fundamental market dysfunction. Days on market tell an even more alarming story, according to MLS statistics. Properties across West Palm Beach now sit an average of 85 to 115 days, nearly triple the 35 to 45-day average from 2021 to 2022. But averages hide the real crisis. Many homes sit 150 to 200+ days before sellers either accept deeply discounted offers or withdraw listings entirely. When homes don't sell at current asking prices and don't sell after multiple reductions, it signals that buyers and sellers have dramatically different perceptions of value. Inventory dynamics worsen the situation. Active listings in Palm Beach County have increased approximately 45 to 60% year over year, according to various market reports, as frustrated sellers who tried unsuccessfully to sell at higher prices in 2023 keep relisting, while new sellers add properties to an already oversupplied market. When inventory rises while sales volume falls, the oversupply ratio climbs exponentially. Insurance costs in West Palm Beach mirror the crisis across South Florida. According to MoneyGeek's 2024 analysis, Florida homeowners insurance averages around $8,770 annually for standard coverage, with coastal Palm Beach County properties often exceeding $9,000 to $11,000 plus. When combined with property taxes averaging $8,000 to $10,000 on median-priced homes, according to county tax records. The carrying costs make homeownership increasingly unaffordable, even for two-income professional households. The rental market shows parallel stress. Landlords who purchased investment properties in 2021 to 2022 expecting steady appreciation are discovering that West Palm Beach's rental market has softened significantly. Rents that peaked around $2,400 to $2,600 monthly are now struggling to maintain $2,100 to $2,300, while vacancy periods between tenants have lengthened from 15 to 20 days to 45 to 60+ days, according to property management reports. Small investors are hemorrhaging cash as rental income no longer covers expenses. Commercial real estate downtown shows troubling weakness. Office vacancy above 18% according to commercial brokerage data, retail spaces sitting empty, new development projects stalled. These visible signs of economic softening affect residential values throughout the metro. Heading into 2026, West Palm Beach's quantifiable downturn provides the data roadmap for what's approaching across South Florida. Our second city shows the human cost behind the numbers. Number 2, Miami. Miami represents the heart of South Florida, the economic engine, the cultural center, the global city that defines the region's identity. For years, Miami defied skeptics who predicted population growth couldn't sustain. But heading into 2026, Miami is experiencing a migration reversal documented in Census data that threatens to unwind the growth story that drove the housing boom. Census estimates suggest Miami-Dade County lost approximately 85,000 to 90,000 residents between 2021 and 2023, representing one of the largest population declines among major U.S. metros. What makes this exodus particularly alarming? These aren't elderly retirees. They're working families, young professionals, and essential workers who've concluded that Miami's cost structure makes long-term stability impossible. When the demographic that typically drives housing demand leaves, it creates a fundamental market imbalance. The high-rise condo market reveals the crisis with particular clarity. Downtown Miami and Brickell neighborhoods feature dozens of luxury towers built during the development boom, with thousands of units absorbed by investors rather than owner-occupants. Many of these investors are now attempting to exit simultaneously, flooding the market with rental inventory and for-sale listings. The result, according to building occupancy reports, rental vacancy climbing above 8 to 10% in some buildings, and condos sitting on the sales market for 180 to 240 plus days with multiple price reductions. A typical investor scenario illustrates the mathematics. Someone purchased a $650,000 Brickell condo in 2022, putting 25% down and financing $487,500 at 5.5%. Their monthly mortgage payment, approximately $2,770. Add $850 monthly HOA fees, $900 monthly for property taxes and insurance, $150 for utilities. Total monthly cost, $4,670. They anticipated renting at $3,800 to $4,200 monthly, accepting modest negative cash flow for expected appreciation. Instead, rental market softening means they're getting $3,200 to $3,400 when the unit isn't vacant. They're losing $1,400 plus monthly. After 2 years of losses, they list for sale at $625,000. 6 months later, still unsold after reducing to $565,000. Their equity has evaporated and they're trapped. This scenario is playing out across thousands of investor-owned condos, according to real estate analysts. The resulting pressure is driving prices down in a self-reinforcing cycle. Falling prices make remaining investors more anxious to exit, adding more inventory, further depressing prices. Essential worker displacement accelerates the crisis. Teachers earning $56,000 to $60,000, according to district pay scales, nurses making $68,000 to $75,000, police officers averaging $65,000 to $70,000. These professionals cannot afford Miami housing, whether buying or renting. Their exodus creates staffing crises while removing demand from the housing market. Commercial real estate adds to residential stress. Office vacancy above 17% according to commercial reports, retail struggling, new commercial projects canceled. These visible signs of economic uncertainty affect residential confidence. Heading into 2026, Miami's migration reversal and market oversupply create conditions for a sustained housing downturn that could persist for years. And our number one city reveals the ultimate convergence. Number 1, Miami Beach. Miami Beach rises from a barrier island where Art Deco architecture meets azure Atlantic waters, where South Beach's international reputation made it synonymous with glamour, luxury, and the Florida lifestyle. This is where celebrities vacation, where international wealth parks in luxury condos, where the beach itself defines South Florida's image to the world. But heading into 2026, Miami Beach is becoming the ultimate symbol not of Florida's promise, but of its fragility, where climate reality, insurance market failure, and condo structural crisis converge into an existential threat. The climate reality that Miami Beach hoped to engineer away with $500+ million in pump systems and raised roads is proving more intractable than optimistic projections suggested. King tides flood streets with increasing frequency, according to flood event tracking. Storm drains overflow during afternoon thunderstorms that didn't used to cause problems. The visual evidence is undeniable. Building entrances below street level, businesses sandbagging doorways during high tide events, residents checking tide tables before leaving home. These aren't theoretical risks. They're daily inconveniences becoming weekly crises heading into 2026. Insurance companies have priced this reality with brutal honesty. Miami Beach properties face some of the nation's highest insurance costs, according to industry reports, with many standard homes seeing premiums of $12,000 to $16,000 annually based on local agent quotes. Luxury waterfront properties face quotes of $25,000 to $45,000 or more for comprehensive coverage, if they can obtain coverage at all. Multiple carriers have stopped writing new policies in specific Miami Beach zip codes, according to state regulatory data. The condo crisis adds catastrophic financial pressure. Miami Beach's iconic high-rise buildings are aging, with many constructed in the 1970s to 1980s now requiring comprehensive structural repairs. Post-Surfside inspection mandates are revealing issues associations ignored for decades. Special assessments in some Miami Beach buildings are reaching $150,000 to $300,000+ per unit, according to association attorneys, as associations attempt to address decades of deferred maintenance while complying with new structural standards. Picture an owner in a South Beach condo tower who purchased their unit in 2019 for $875,000. Their monthly condo fee has climbed from $950 to $1,650 as building insurance costs tripled. Property taxes approach $14,000 annually. Insurance costs $13,500. Then arrives the special assessment, $185,000 for structural repairs, payable within 12 months. Their total obligation, over $225,000 in a single year just to maintain ownership. When they explore selling, similar units in their building are listed at $725,000 to $775,000, according to MLS data, $100,000 to $150,000 below what they paid 5 years ago. Their equity has vanished. Population data confirms the exodus is accelerating. Miami Beach has experienced sustained population decline, according to Census estimates, as both year-round residents and seasonal owners conclude the cost structure and climate risk make long-term ownership untenable. When international investors and domestic wealthy buyers simultaneously reassess Miami Beach's viability, the resulting capital flight creates a market collapse. Commercial real estate on Miami Beach shows parallel distress. Retail vacancies along Lincoln Road, restaurants closing after decades, hotels reducing services. These visible signs of economic strain affect property values throughout the island. Heading into 2026, Miami Beach represents the ultimate convergence. Climate vulnerability that money can't engineer away, insurance costs that even the wealthy struggle to justify, condo assessment crisis destroying owner equity, and population exodus of precisely the residents who sustained the market. Miami Beach is the apex of South Florida's housing crisis, the place where every trend converges into undeniable reality. If Miami Beach can't survive what's coming in 2026, the warning for the rest of South Florida couldn't be clearer. In conclusion, from Deerfield Beach's middle-class affordability collapse to Miami Beach's existential climate and insurance crisis, we've traced the complete trajectory of South Florida's housing market heading into 2026 based on observable data, market trends, and demographic shifts. This isn't speculation. It's reality confirmed by price data from multiple listing services, transaction volumes documented in county records, insurance market exits tracked by state regulators, and population trends measured by census estimates. The convergence happening across these 10 cities reveals something more severe than a normal housing correction. Insurance companies aren't just raising rates, they're abandoning entire markets because actuarial analysis indicates the risk is unmanageable. Climate reality isn't some distant future threat. It's flooding streets and affecting property values today. Population isn't stabilizing. It's actively declining as working families and even wealthy residents conclude that South Florida's cost structure is unsustainable. What makes 2026 particularly critical? Multiple crisis factors are reaching inflection points simultaneously. Insurance renewals in early 2026 will shock thousands of homeowners, with increases many cannot afford. Condo special assessments that associations can no longer defer will hit tens of thousands of units. The 2026 hurricane season will test South Florida's already fragile insurance system. Property tax bills will arrive in late 2026, adding another layer of financial stress. For families living in South Florida right now, the data provides clear warning. What's approaching in 2026 is more severe than most people realize. The time to make informed decisions about whether South Florida remains viable is now, before the full crisis becomes undeniable. South Florida isn't experiencing a temporary setback. It's heading into a fundamental market restructuring that will reshape the region for years to come. This video is for informational purposes only and not financial advice.